According to you, how can companies retain and attract millennials?
Millennial of the first generation, I think by the first definition of millennial, I'm the first or the second batch of millennials. Uh, it's a very interesting workforce, and I've been fortunate to work with very great seasoned leader, a lot of millennials, and now I'm actually also dealing with the Gen Zs who are slowly about to and started to come in the workforce. Now, there are three things that I say that are extremely important to the millennial workforce. It's called MAD, not mad, but MAD. It sounds like mad. Uh, M is meaning. Okay, this is a generation that looks at purpose and the meaning more and before that anything else that you want. Now, this is not a generation who asks about how much would you pay me. They want to understand, do I belong here? Is this a story that I want to be a part of? Is there a purpose? And is it aligned to my larger purpose and my larger goals of life? So that's the first part that this generation requires, and every leader who wants millennials to come up should focus on this part. The second is autonomy. Okay. Now, historically, I think the world evolved in a way where managers had to use the theory X of taking a stick and say, okay, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And people used to do that. This will not work. You need to throw them a challenge and not instruction. Tell them this is a problem to be solved, they will figure out a way to do it. But if you tell them, Ketan, this is exactly how you have to do, you will see reactions. You need to challenge them. You don't need to direct them. You need to challenge them. You don't need to direct them. So that's the second part. This is a generation that is also very direction oriented. Okay. Now, organizations need to be very clear in the direction that they want to go. Now, purpose is the larger thing that drives, but direction also in terms of, are you moving in the right direction? Do you have a sense of what you're doing? Are there goals and the milestones that you want to put across, and are you crossing that? So these are the three important things that I have realized about millennials. Uh, this is also a generation which is not looking at a manager in terms of a real boss in their managers. They're looking at a friend and a coach and a mentor in their managers, right? Somebody they can go to, talk as a friend. There's no competition. They're pretty secure. They're confident about themselves. But they need to have managers who are far more amiable, far more receptive, open, coachable. They can go to them, and they can become a friend when it is needed. They can become a inspiration when it is needed. They can become a colleague when it is needed. So that's the power that this generation brings to. The challenge would not end here. The challenge would be, and I think it's very okay of what is happening because every generation evolves. Now we as millennials or the most of the millennials would also face this challenge when the Gen Zs would start coming into the workforce because they would have a different thought process altogether, and millennials would have to evolve to the style of the Gen Zs to ensure that they catch up. Otherwise, the Gen Zs would start calling them a generation old, and a new generation would come. I think that's the rule of the world of how human races evolve and all.
So thank you so much for giving us your time, and thank you for joining us. And I'm hoping that this insightful information is going to be very helpful to all the future Gen Zs and people who are going to come up.
All right, Mehak, thank you so much for inviting me here, and I hope and I'm sure my experiences would help few people out there. Thank you so much for having me.